Pecha Kucha 68, Joker sketches, Ocelot, and Elvis. Now, I thought I was going to be talking about some real different things this week, including DMX, Phantom Brave, Cabin in the Woods, all kinds of things that I kind of looked at this week, but it's kind of turned into something a bit more streamlined. Elvis is the odd one out. So I heard when I was a kid he died on the toilet with a cheeseburger in his hand. Eminem's Without Me parodies this. I actually finally wikied Elvis and how he died. He did die on the toilet. I don't think he had a cheeseburger in his hand. It's one of the few things in my life is on my bucket list, never to die like Elvis. True story. So Daily Sketch, me and the Mystic Moore are doing it, but not at the same time. So I'm like playing catch up. He's uploaded a load of Dragon Ball Z pictures. The first one being Nappa. His head is at a slight angle and it's not as easy to draw as I would think. This picture of Goku I initially thought was pretty straightforward, but because it's from the manga and his proportions are a little bit nicer than I would have thought, I had to kind of rescale what I was doing several times. I actually really enjoyed trying to make him look wet because it's not very often that kind of thing comes up. Piccolo, the man, the myth, the legend. His cape is a complete menace, like when you're trying to draw freehand. It wouldn't be too difficult to render using the one of the tools in Manga Studio that gives you smooth curves. Yeah, Jirobe. No one's favourite character, I'm sure, but it's still a pretty good image. I didn't really try too hard with the his what is there? A kimono? I guess it is. I love drawing directional lines on clothes and people, but I just didn't really bother too much. A little study of Frieza, because I have a sneaking suspicion he's going to work his way into the Smiley Show, since Vegeta's already there, Piccolo shows up once in a while, and even Goku makes the odd appearance. The more the merrier, right? I think the last Smiley Show I was actually working on was a Perfect Cell one, so yeah, this is just... Beerus, no, but yeah, Frieza, yes. Right, so the Joker. I'm trying to figure out how I draw the Joker. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the Heath Ledger Joker. Who isn't? So this idea of him in the silhouettes with the eyeshadow and the kind of straight face, who's laughing now thing in a police lineup, that seemed like a cool visual thing to play with. But I find that whenever I try to draw a picture of the Joker, it feels like it's missing something. And even looking at Jim Lee and like Bolin's versions of the Joker, I feel like it's not getting what I want him to be, because there's been so many different versions of him as well. And I think I discovered that leaving the eyeshadow from the Heath Ledger one alone and then making him look more like the animated cartoon Joker and then just giving him a really ridiculous massive grin, that feels quite like that's where I want to take him, and that's where he should be. He should be very sinister, but not not coy, but yeah. See, the perspective of this picture, I'm still in two minds whether it works or not. It's the foreshortening on his head is quite extreme. It almost seems like his face is too small for his head, but I reversed it, I coloured it. It still seems only about 15 to 20% off, which is kind of normal for a picture I do. I suck at putting things where they're supposed to be. I am a rank amateur. I'm proud of it, I suppose. That's why I don't bother finishing things. Right. So speaking of trying to put things where they're supposed to go, I wanted to try and draw Ocelot Hand's picture of Liquid Ocelot from Metal Gear Solid and create his body from boxes and 3D shapes to try and make sure it had a strong resonance in 3D space. Very awkward thing for me to do. I went and got reference to try and take these weird things and kind of make them work. Because at the end of the day, if Ocelot's got the wrong shaped nose, it's not really him, is it? And you can see from the 3D boxing I did that his face is too flat. That's what happens when you turn a face into a box and then you forget that the nose is supposed to come off of the box. Yeah, I was going for an under the chin thing, making things harder for myself, and then I found an actual image of Ocelot that was under the chin, so this was like a really good opportunity to try and figure out, almost cheat and get a shortcut of what certain things in my drawing should look like, and I realised I'd foreshortened his head too much. So, another picture of Ocelot from Metal Gear Solid, to have a look at his muscle structures, because he's not just a hench dude, he's a hench old dude, and that's, skin sags, but not so much when you've got a six-pack, right? Yeah, so I tried to factor that in, give him his coat, and I did his arms as a separate layer to try and, focus on the Ocelot hands and then bring them back in. I don't feel like I'm anywhere near finished, but like building this up layer by layer, trying to make sure every bit works, it's an interesting experience. I don't know if it's actually any more beneficial than just doing it the way I normally do it, but onwards and upwards, right? So from something so involving, I just decided to go back to my normal thing and just do a little headshot of Ocelot from Metal Gear Solid 1. And looking at pictures of him on Google, it turns out he's a bit shadier than I thought. And yeah, I distinctly decided to leave his eyebrows off to make him look real serious. No Steamed Hams this week. Steamed Hams award goes to LA Noire VR edition, where players are quite happy to upload them being inappropriate and stroking the faces of other characters and throwing around cigarette butts and all kinds of hilarious stuff. It's fun for the whole family. That brings us to the end of Pecha Kucha 68. So what do I need to do going forward? Well, yeah, I know why I'm putting off the Smiley Show, but I really can't. I need to write, and I need to publish what I write. My blog, either I restart it, I continue it. I just got to do something with it, and I got to figure out what. It might be a good idea to just talk about my Smiley Show procedures as I'm coming up with them, and maybe even figure them out in the blog. And then more of this Ocelot thing, this 3D sketching thing. I can get a lot more solidarity in my illustration work if I can ground it with a solid foundation. So I should go look at Andrew Loomis and Bern Hogarth and all the rest. Will I be talking about that stuff next week? Probably not. But we'll see what happens next week. I'll see you then.